There are many things that I think the younger generation should know about Dorothy, but especially her dedication to the poor, her dedication to all people of all races, of color. Dot was available to all people. She loved everybody. I think she got that from her family because her family was a large family, but they all helped one another and they were a very giving community. And I think that's what Dot had when and we were blessed to have Dot come to Notre Dame because that's when I began to understand who Dorothy Stang really was. And the big thing about Dot was her integrity. Whatever she believed, she lived. And she never imposed that on others, but it was contagious. And wherever Dot went, people never forgot her. Even today, when I was in Brazil, and I would be walking down the street, and because we're white, the little children would say, "Good morning, Sister Dorothy." And for them, all of us are Sister Dorothy. And they believe, as Joan Krim said, she was on the plane, and someone saw the cross and said, but it's no longer Sisters of Notre Dame. It's, oh, you belong to Sister Dorothy's group. So we're all Sister Dorothy's. And so wherever we go, we got to continue to carry that spirit of giving, of loving, of embracing all religions, all color, all cultures, everything, the way Dot did. Dot is with God and all of our other ancestors. But what Dot left here, we have to carry on. And even some of the workers here at Mount Notre Dame, they've captured Dorothy's spirit. And they're taking it to their families. They're getting people to help one another. And even on the times when we do the good and they bring some of the children and the children are catching on to the spirit. And that's what that was all about. Do good, help. And if I could, I want to tell you a story of, I only found this out after, it was the night that we had our wake in Brazil for Dorothy. And after she had been killed, and the body was brought out of the Anapu and brought into the city. And all night, her body was in the church. And we took turns going over to visit her, the people who were coming in. There never was a moment that there was no one in the church. But I did notice this couple, a man and a woman, and they were up by the coffin. And I didn't recognize them. And I had gone to many of the villages and that, but I wasn't recognizing this couple. So I went over to them and I said, "Did you know Sister Dorothy?" And they said, "Well, in a way we did, but we have to tell you something. We're not Catholic." And but one night we were walking on the road and we were so tired and we saw a car coming. And I said to my husband, "Let's wave that car down and see if they can help us get to our next village. Then we wouldn't have to walk so far." So they waved the car down, and it was Dot in her little Volkswagen. She stops, gets out, and says, "What can I do to help you?" And they said, "Oh, we didn't know. We saw the car coming, and what we would just ask to see if we could get to the next village because that's where we live, and we're so tired. But we didn't know that it was the Catholic sisters, and we're not Catholic. So we're sorry that we stopped you." She said, "Wait a minute. Do you remember any time when Jesus was asked to cure somebody and Jesus said to them, well, what's your religion? Are you just like me, or are you from some other religion?" No, Jesus never asked that. And that's telling these people. And so she said, "Get in the car and I'm going to go take you to your next village." So off they go. Those people never forgot that. And they came to our church all by themselves and went up and stayed there for a long time just by the coffin of Dot's. And that really touched me because Dot had no idea what she was doing, except somebody needed help, and Dot was ready there to help them. And that's one of the things that really impressed me. And I said, I got to pass this on to other people, that they do the same thing, help one another. And the other thing was that Dot, she just loved everybody. And she lived with very few things. She lived her poverty. And I learned from her. And the night that she was in Belém, and she was getting ready to go back to Anapu, and it was the time of the Mardi Gras, and she had a very bad back, and so whenever she came to Belém, I said, "Dot, you sleep in my bed, and I can sleep in a hammock." And so I came into the room, and here was Dot leaning up against the wall on the bed, and she was praying. And that's another thing I want to tell you. Dot never did anything with the people without asking God's help. And that's what she was doing that morning. And so I said, "Dot, why don't you stay here for Mardi Gras? Because everybody's going to be out in the street, celebrating and that." "Oh, Julia, I was in Brazil, Julia. I can't. I got to get back with the people because we're going to take this whole area that the government gave us and we're going to divide it up into little pots, and each family is going to get a piece of land. I got to go." And that was the last I ever talked to Dot. And then she left, and that's when the men followed her. And yesterday, some of the story was told how Dot even came in contact with them and sat down with them and tried to converse with them about the Bible and invited them to come and be a part of the group and everything. This is the way Dot is. She feared no one. And so when her brother called, and her brother said to her, "Dot, get out of there. They want to kill you. So get out." "Oh," she said, "I can't. I have to stay with the people."